Yo, what's up, guys? So, last video I talked about zero-tick redstone and how it can apply to redstone computers. I made it known that I didn't want to make a completely zero-tick computer, but I think that making a hybrid could make it much more efficient. Well, this is my RAM module that makes use of zero-tick redstone. Right now we have 128 bytes of RAM here. So this is made out of eight byte modules. So each of these little modules can hold 8 bytes, and we have 16 of these, so it's 128 bytes of RAM. Each of these modules takes about 7 ticks to take an input, 9 ticks to give an output, and uh, when I've counted this design, it's about, I said 7 here, it's about one more tick, so about 8 ticks to set and 9 ticks to enable. Or sorry, 10 ticks to enable. Um, Now, notice it's only one more tick than these individual modules. It's one more tick than 8 bytes. 128 takes one tick longer than 8 bytes. But that's not all. What's special about this design is that it is basically infinitely expandable, because it doesn't really matter how many of these modules I have. It really comes down to how fast these individual modules are. So because they're connected by zero-tick redstone, I could infinitely expand this. So I could have 256 bytes and it would take the same amount of time. I could have 512 bytes, it would take the same amount of time. I could have 4096 bytes, it would take the same amount of time. I think the only thing limiting me here is maybe my simulation distance. I do have to look more into it. I want to see how many bytes I could actually fit. Um, so that'd be interesting to see. But let's test this out. So this is our input. We have these 8 down here are our memory address, and then this is if we want to set or enable. So let's put something in right now. Maybe we can do how about 10, right? We want to input 10. We choose a memory module for this. How about we put 10 and 10? Um, and then we set that, and then I don't know how short of a pulse I can make it. All right, I'll leave this address. The only issue about these zero ticks are that if they receive a 1 redstone tick pulse, they will drop their piston, or sorry, drop their redstone block, which can be an issue. But there is a way to to allow them to have a 1 tick pulse go into them, and it's by adding this thing on here, this little piston with the observer, which helps it catch its block if it goes too quickly. So I could put that on everything, but that'd just be a little annoying. But yeah, let's check it out. So I've put 10 into memory slot 10, and if we were to enable, boom. So that's pretty fast, right? I only have I only have like the input and output are kind of connected. I fixed that in uh, when I'm working on my CPU over there. I added an input output line, but it doesn't really matter. Um, Now, I did just do 10. Now, 10 would be, I think it's somewhere around here. 10 would be in here, this module, which is pretty close. But let's do the furthest module we can get. Which in this case, we don't use the top bit because it's only 128 bytes. So it'd be something like this. And so let's put a number in there. I don't know. How about we put in 15? We can set that, and then let's test it out and see the difference in speed. Notice there's not really a difference in speed. And let's check it out. So it comes from this side, and it should be all the way back here. Yeah, so it's coming from this back module here, and yeah, the very last one here. This is very. And notice it didn't take any more time than doing module 10 or whatever. Even module 0, we could even test this out with module 0. Let's turn this off. We could put something in module 0. How about we put a 5 in module 0? And let's enable it. And there we go. So again, like there's no difference. It really just comes down to how fast these individual modules are, and if they're all the same, it would take the same amount of time from anywhere. So this is my RAM module that I will be working with. Um, a lot better than my previous one. If we go over to my previous one over here, this was 64 bytes of RAM, and it was not at all instant. Notice the amount of repeaters. Uh, but what this had that's different is that it would output two at a time. So the RAM, instead of having some mediator like most computers do, and these mediators are called registers, which are more immediate memory than RAM. They just went straight into the ALU and fed immediately back into the RAM. So that was an issue, right? Which I don't necessarily want because again we have all these crossing lines which add a ton of delay. And with the RAM, I would have to store it in two places to output. Like notice I have a memory slot on both sides. So just I made some good changes to this. And then in my new design, I will be having some registers uh, that will add one extra step. But given how fast this RAM is, being able to pull out of the RAM and put into a register would be very, very fast. But if you guys have any questions about this, I know I kind of brushed over the memory circuits, but I feel like I've explained those a lot in previous videos. But really, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. But for now, that's about it. Peace.